Welcome to my studio. This drawing we're going to do another landscape. This time there's quite a bit of dark area in there, a lot of dark shadows and figures going on in the background. And I posted this online and I had someone ask me about how to draw it, so I thought I'd do a drawing video on this. So I hope you join me. Okay, in the past videos, I have went ahead and sketched this stuff in, but this time I'm going to just start right from scratch. I have created the grid here, which is, let me get my ruler out here. The photograph is 8 by 8, and so I've made this drawing 12 by 12. And like the photograph is 8 inches by 8 inches, and so I've made the drawing 12 inches by 12 inches. And then if you've seen video 4, you've seen how I scale this up. I divide this in half, and then I divide each half into half, and I do the same thing on this side. Same thing with the photograph, so that I have a grid here that's in same proportions as this grid on the photograph. And I can begin to take it one square at a time and start sketching in where these elements are. So I'm going to start right here with this tree. It's kind of a dominant feature right there, and it kind of comes over like this. I'm just doing this with a number 2, regular old number 2 Ticonderoga pencil, and because I want my lines to be fairly light, but I need to do it a little bolder than what you'd want to do it, so because it has to show up on camera. And I'm just kind of sketching in things sort of just generally here. I'm not really getting into a lot of detail yet. I'm just sort of blocking in where things are at. I know I got a bunch of leaves over in this area, massive leaves, and they kind of come down through here, down to about there, and then they start going back up the bank right here. I know it's hard to see that probably on your screen because this photograph is pretty dark, but there's a big rock right in here. It kind of comes down like that. Actually, 2 rocks there. And again, you want to try to get your biggest features in first, and don't worry about the little detail yet. This comes down here. There's a rock right in there. Then there's some more rocks in here. There's a lot of little detail rocks in there. And my leaves are right over in here. I'm just going to scribble in just something to just remind me where they're at. Now I've got a big leaves here in the foreground, so I want to get those. And it goes off here, and then there's one that comes down here. And so we've got that. Okay, now if I carry this over to this next square right here, I've got some, let me get this over here where you can see it. I've got some of the shoreline comes right over here. There's a little creek that runs around this way and then back into here. So there's a little area that comes in there. There's some rocks right through here. And then there's another big rock right in there. And that kind of comes like that. And then there's a waterfall. I want to get that waterfall in there. It comes right through here. There's a rock face that's right there, and that comes down here. Let's see here. Get over here where you can see it maybe. And then it kind of comes up. There's a rock that sort of hits against this big rock right here. And it comes down like that. And then it comes across, let's see, right about there, starts coming across. And comes all the way up here, intersects that point right there, and then it drops down right here. And at this point, right here, there's this upper rock face comes across like that, and like this. And let me see where I'm at here. It's always a challenge. You have to make sure you're in the right square. And okay, there's a waterfall that comes right through here. It comes down this way, sort of spreads out like that, down there. And then there's a ledge right through here. There's another little waterfall right down in here. And this one comes off of this ledge and drops down like so. Okay, and it comes down, it sort of breaks up into little rivulets right there, and then the back part of this big rock right here is right like that, and this little waterfall comes down there. And let's see, this goes over here. Now I've got some big leaves in here. I want to sketch those in. And again, like I said, you don't have to be, we're not looking for detail right now. I'm just kind of looking for position of things. Let's see, that's a little higher. You know, we want to find out, you know, try to find one of these leaves and just get the shape of them. And, you know, if you can kind of keep that going. Looks like there's some oak in there, and I don't really know my trees that well, so. Down in here, there's a big mass of leaves. You just, you don't have, it can just be random shapes in there because it's all sort of tangled in. And so you're going to have some stems coming off of here. There's going to be some leaves like this. Just, you can just indicate those in there anywhere. Now, this little waterfall comes down here, and then it splashes into the pool right here. And same with this little one back here, just a little splash where it hits the bottom there. And let's see, that comes back around here, and there's a little beach that kind of forms right here. It just kind of comes around like this. And I've got some more leaves in the foreground here. And I'm going to just going to indicate those a little bit over here like that. Okay, and let's see, that gets us down into here. Now there's a shadow that cuts across here. It's caused by this cliff. And again, I want to indicate some more leaves over here on this side. There's almost like, kind of like an oak leaf here. I don't know if that's an oak leaf or just a cluster of these small little oval shaped leaves on the end of a branch. It's hard to tell in the photograph. And let's see, if we go back up here, we've got a couple of rocks, one right there, a little one down here, and this area slopes up this way. There's like a kind of a rock face there. And then this little stream goes around and comes back around over here. So it goes through there and back around over here. And there's some rocks over here. Just kind of, I'm just going to sketch something in, just scribble something in there, because that's going to be lost in the background. So now we've got our basics in, and I want to start adding some graphite and some values to different parts of the drawing. I'm going to start up here at the top and work my way down, and then work my way from left to right, because I'm right-handed. That way I avoid getting my hand in areas that I've already drawn. Again, it's important to note which direction your sun is coming. So the sun looks like it's coming from back over here, from right, upper right to lower left. So it's good. Maybe sometimes you can just put a little arrow, you know, just indicate which direction the sun's coming from. It sort of reminds you. And at this point, we're ready to start putting in some graphite. So I think I'll start off with a 9B. Pretty much that's all I'm going to use for this drawing, other than this initial sketch, which was a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil. This is going to be a 9B Derwent, and then for some really dark areas, I'll get into this 9B Pentalic, or Koh-i-Noor makes a not good 9B also. That's woodless pencil, and I've got a little graphite stick here that also calls itself 9B. It's made in Germany, but all these things that are 9B, they're not all exactly 9B. Each company has their own different little formula, and so what one company calls 9B might be a little lighter than another company's 9B. So you just have to buy it and play with it and see if it's what you like. And this paper is very smooth, so there's no grain to it, very little grain to it. And the first thing I'm going to do is start adding in graphite here on these dark areas, the ones that are in the shade. And I'm just going to do that for a little bit here, and you can just follow along. Done drawing in the initial drawing, because they'll get in the way when you shade and start adding values and stuff like that. So normally you wouldn't draw them as dark as I do, but again, it's a situation where you're trying to make sure it's visible on the camera. I'm leaving this side light because, again, the sun's hitting that side, and I'm not as dark as I'm going to eventually go here. So this is kind of just sort of establish the relationship, different values, but I'm going to go in probably a much darker in some of these areas. But for the initial starting phase of this drawing, we'll just kind of get everything in sort of a monotone, either real light or this sort of medium dark. There's some more up here. These, because they're in this far background, they can be just kind of random shapes, you know. They don't have to have a lot of detail in those areas. Just indicate some shadows and stuff. And Okay. Now I'm just going to start putting in a little bit of shading up in here. I think I'll use the powdered graphite to cover these big areas here. It just is a lot more efficient way of doing it. And this is a 6B graphite powder. And get it in here like that. Now I can go back in and lighten some areas and darken some areas. But right now I'm just looking to get the mass in these really dark areas here. I'll pick out places where the sunlight is popping through and some places where it's really dark. But I'll do that as we get further along in the drawing here. And just carry it down to about there. Over here there's a little bit of shading in that background there. A bit up in here. And let's see, let's just let that go for right now. I'm contouring my drawing lines here kind of with the shape of the object, so it's kind of, instead of just going straight across, I'm kind of curving it to give that feeling of roundness. Okay. I want to start massing in some dark areas here. I'm going to use this graphite crayon. And just randomly put in some areas here. I'm just using a lot of random strokes here so that there's no real defined pattern in there. It's okay if there's light areas where I miss, because those are open areas. I'm going to lighten those even more so that they look like sunlight, areas where sunlight is passing through. see, there's a big there's a big leaf right in here. I want to make sure I get. I'm actually changing it a little bit because it doesn't quite look like a leaf there. So we're going to just make it look more like a leaf. All right, there's a little shoreline right here. Little let's see, it's an area right comes right through here. And this area in here is water right through in here. All the way, and it follows around. There's a little pool of water right here, and it comes around over to about here. There's a rock right there. There's another rock back in there, and then there's some rocks on this back side over here, and another one right there, and this little pool comes around over here. So let me see where I'm at here. Okay, it comes like that, and then it starts to come around like that. And well, let's see, no, it's actually over here. So this water is forming a pool right here, and it comes around over here and then goes this way, and it looks like there's a little waterfall up in here. And so we're just going to put a rock right there, and it comes down like so. And this rock right here kind of, just going to make it sort of bigger like that. So there's a little waterfall that's coming down here. So the water comes through here, comes down this way through here, pools up over here, and then spills over into waterfall down here. And some of it leaks through the rocks and comes out over here. So I'm just going to blend this a little bit more. Take a little piece of chamois skin here. That sometimes works even better. Those are pretty big random marks I've made in there. I probably want to put some smaller ones in here too, because the leaves wouldn't be that thick. So I'll take my regular 9B pencil and I'll put in a few smaller ones here. Okay, now I want to start picking out a few of these little areas in here, little highlights. And I'm going to use this little electric eraser. You can get these at like Office Depot for under $10, I think. They're really handy for picking out little areas that you want to. Actually, I need to put a little bit more graphite in there. And then you can just I might try to put a few little rays of sunlight coming in through here, just to add a little drama. And the way to do that is I'm going to use a ruler and just put a piece of it down, put it down like this, and take my kneaded eraser and just kind of pick up some of that pencil lead that's in there. And we can always, if it doesn't look good, we can always go back in and add the pencil lead back in. So it kind of gives the impression that some light's kind of shining through some places there. And I think I'll put another one right in here. Like that. And these areas out here on the end, they're going to be much lighter because the sun, there's not enough foliage there, and there's this, the sun is coming through there, so you want to make sure that they get plenty of light out here. Okay. Now I'm going to darken this a little bit more. It's not as, this tree trunk is not as dark as this area here, but I feel like it needs a little bit more. You're always doing that. You're always kind of comparing one thing next to another in in drawings. Drawings or paintings. Okay, I can put a little bit of graphite in the background there. And same with up here. I'll pick some of that out with a kneaded eraser. Always helps when you're doing a drawing to don't think that you have to follow exactly what's there. You're the one creating the drawing, so if you need to add an area that's for drama or something like that, to give it a little bit more vibrant look, a little bit more drama, that's your option. Okay, now I'm going to start right in here. This rock right there is pretty dark, and there's kind of comes around here like this. And let's see, there's more stuff going on in here. There's a shadow that comes down off of this tree. It comes down here like that. And there's another part of it that comes in there. And let's see, let's add some more graphite values in here. That way we can pick out some highlights and stuff. I'm just picking these things out with a regular pink pearl eraser. Okay. And let's see, up here there's a big rock right up in here. Actually, it's right about like that. Goes up there like that, kind of cuts back in here. And there's a sun, the face of it there is getting a lot of light, direct sunlight. I'll put that in there. And let's see, let's just give that some more graphite there, darken the value of that face. this part of the tree right here, the light is not hitting very much right there. So there's branches that are creating shadows across this area. So it's not just a solid white line coming down that side. So I want to get that in there. And see, there's a branch that goes off of here. Guess we should get that in there. And some more leaves down in here. I think I'm going to use the electric eraser to get those. I think I'll use the electric eraser to get those areas. Okay, here, down in here, I've got the sides of these rocks that's away from the sun. Remember, the sun's coming in from upper right to lower left. So these are going to be in shadow here, quite a dark shadow, and they're going to have a light surface on top where the sun hits. And let's see, there's one down in here. Doesn't have to be exact. Nobody's going to be grabbing the photograph and saying, oh, that leaf should be over here. In fact, the nice thing about drawing is you don't have to show it to anybody. This is your drawing, and you can do with it what you want. You're not trying to make a living doing this stuff. Maybe. Let's see. The important thing is to try to get the character, what's going on there. You know, you don't have to have every shape exactly right, but if you can get the feeling for what's going on, I had an instructor that used to say if you want to draw clouds, you have to become a cloud. And this is back during the 60s, during the hippie days. And so everybody just figured, well, he smoked a little bit too much of that funny weed. So, but really what he was talking about was that you need to understand what's happening with a cloud, you know, what's causing it to look the way it looks. Same way with rocks or trees or anything like that. In nature, you need to understand what forces went into play to make them look like they do. And it helps to, it really does help. He wasn't crazy after all. I kind of like that dark area right there. Okay. Let's see. These little leaves have actually got some value to them. They're not completely light colored. You need to see what's happening here. There's where that edge is that creates this surface right here. It kind of comes up through that. And I'm going to darken it a little bit, so it's going to help define some of these leaves in here. So let's see if it comes through there like that. And we'll just put there like this. Put a little graphite in there because there's going to be some little stems, little twigs and stuff that Okay, I want to pick out some of these areas right here, because the surface right here is very light, and this rock face up here and let's see, this gets a little bit of, it's a little lighter, not. If you don't know how to draw an area, something like area, just put some leaves covering it. If you don't know what to do with an area, cover it with leaves or something, you know. Nobody will know the difference. Nature has a lot of random patterns, and you want to be able to indicate that randomness. So a lot of times I take a kneaded eraser like this and I put a little sharp edge on it, just pinch it into a little sharp edge like that, and you can go back in and just add some texture with some things, just some branches and stuff that's back there. To keep making new sharp edges, because it picks up this graphite pretty fast, and it won't have the same effect. But see how that makes that more interesting back there? You don't have to indicate exactly what's going on, but it tells the viewer that there is something going on there. It's just not this solid black space, because you don't see that very often in nature. You're going to see a lot of variety in nature and randomness. And so, you know, you want to be able to indicate that. Okay. I think we're pretty much done with that upper area like this. I'm going to start moving down into this area here, and I'm just going to put in some of this water here, very light. And I'll use a little bit of this blending stick here to blend out those lines. And let's see, there's some shadows in here. Shadows created by this rock. So I want to get that in. And see, there's a shadow over here. Comes across there. And there's some shadows in here that's created by these branches hanging over. let's see, I think there's another. Let me lighten some of these areas in here. See, that comes across about like that. And then it's kind of softer on this edge. And there's a sharp line on this rock. It's in there like that. Okay. And then we get down to this area right here, which is this rock that goes across here. And I want to just outline that a little bit better here with pencil. And see, it's pretty dark on this side because it's away from the light. And it's got a lot of texture on it. There's some moss on there that you can't quite see in this photograph, but some different surfaces here which are kind of broken up. Put that in there like that. Okay, and then some rocks around here, just kind of indicate some texture in there. Same way up here, there's rocks all in through there. And let's see, this little waterfall on the background here that comes off there. There's just a little bit of like rock showing through places there. And let's see, just kind of there's some little rocks in here, this area up here too. It's hard to see them right there. They're just little small rocks, but they've got a little dark shadow on one side, so I'm gonna put those in. And we'll pick out the highlight on it, which is right there. There's just some random stuff going on in here. So where the water is still, it's kind of a brownish gray. You see the sand shining through, and then where you've got little rapids and that, it's the water is very white, so light color there. So and this little rock right here's got some little bit of texture on it. It's not just completely white. We'll put a little texture on that. And same with these back in here. They're pretty dark right there and right there. Then they've got some texture up in here. And then there's this big white area right here. This big flat surface where the sun hits it there. Okay, now we're getting into areas that are going to be quite a bit darker here. And so there's some rock layers right here that I want to indicate. And there's a leaf that kind of goes up through that area right there. It's right about in there. I'll just put it like that. Right in here, there's a little pool of water. Don't forget to take out my grid lines there. Although they're probably not going to show in this area because this is going to be so dark down here that they probably won't even show. But I'll take them out anyway. Okay, now where this land meets the water here, I want to have a pretty defining line there, so the eye knows what's happening there. This area down in here is part of that beach area, and it's got some rocks in here that are all dark and covered with moss and stuff like that, so we want to get them in there. And I will pick out some excuse me, pick out some highlights on there. I need a little bit of graphite on that. And there. Let's see, where are we at here? Okay, there's a rock that comes right up through there. And it's kind of like that. Kind of breaks up in here. It's got a surface there. Some more rocks over here, sort of striated kind of rock. And sometimes when I'm drawing with shading in an area in with a pencil that I've used, I've got a flat point on it, so it's easy to shade stuff with it. If I want to draw something, I'll just tilt it on its angle like that and use the edge. I guess it's because I'm too lazy to go grab another pencil. So. But it works. Works for me. I want to add in another couple bands of light in there. Maybe I'll join those two bands so there's nice big area of light coming in. It's just those two little bands like that just seem to sort of stand out and don't really read quite the way I'd like it to. It's a little better, I guess. Okay, where am I at here? There's some shadows on this rock down here. It's very subtle. So I want to take my kneaded eraser and I'm just going to make a little point like that and just sort of break up that solid look. You know, it gives the impression that there's kind of some light shining through there. There's a little bit of, just notice there's a shadow line that goes right across here. Okay. Need to take out a few more of these grid lines to get down here a little ways. Okay, now we've got this rock right through here. There's some striated rocks that go down here. There's a surface right here that comes over like that. Then it comes down like this. So I'm going to get this big rock in there. Again, when you work in an area and you're starting a new area, always look for the biggest pieces, you know, objects, and you can start with those. And then start, you know, worrying about your detail a little later. And let's see, there's this rock right here kind of comes down like that and then sort of up like that. Where am I at here? And let's see, there's a little pool of water right in there too. So let me erase out some of that and get this rock right here. I'll put a edge on it there. And so there's some light area, some water right in there. I'm trying to keep this water all the same value so it reads like water. So when you look at it, you can say, okay, oh, that must be the water there too. And let's see, let's blend this a little bit. There's another rock right here. Now these areas right here in the foreground are areas here that you can kind of mess around with and get some detail in there, because this is going to be a center of interest kind of place. You know, it's where your eye is going to be drawn to. So it's okay to get some detail in there. I didn't put much detail back in the back because you don't really want your eye, the viewer's eye, to go there. You want it to be down in here where this waterfall is. But now I'm working in the area where I want the viewer to view, so I'm going to add some detail in there. There's a little bit of light patches that hit right here on top of this rock. There's one there, and there's one right on that edge right there. A couple back here. There's a little one right there, just a little one. And let's see. I think I'll put some more graphite in there. This area. Back over in here. Going to put some graphite down in this area because there's a lot of shadow and stuff in there, and I can pick out some leaves in there, some interesting stuff going on there. And we'll get down here. It's a really dark area right in there. Comes all the way down to there. And some big rocks in here. I gotta leave some room for those leaves to show through on the edge there. Okay. Now let's see what I can do here. Up here, oh, it's right here. That's a nice big crevice right in there. And it goes up like this, and then there's another rock right there. And that goes up kind of like that, and then one right there. There's a rock that comes down here. An edge. There's another rock right underneath here. It comes down like that, sort of a ledge in there. There's a rock right here. It goes up and gets lost up in here somewhere. And this goes up here to that waterfall, and there's a chipped face, like right in here, this face of this rock kind of comes around like that. Let's see, it comes around about like that, and then over here. You always have to keep checking, you know, to make sure you're in the right spot, and it gets kind of confusing sometimes here, so. Okay, there's this area right in here is kind of light. Anytime you can add more texture in a landscape drawing, it's always a good idea. You know, nature loves texture. These little rocks back in here just kind of disappear. Same with this one. It's got kind of a edge right there. I'm going to indicate some leaves in here. And I want to pick out some highlights on top of these little leaves. And I might use, this is where the electric eraser comes in handy. You can do it so much faster with this. It's just you gotta keep cleaning the eraser because it loads up with graphite. Okay, there's real dark areas underneath these leaves here, so in between these leaves, so you kind of have to indicate that too. And like there's a rock that comes down here. There's another one that comes down this way. And then there's this beach that sort of comes in here like this. There's a rock down in here. And looks like there's one over here. Yeah, let's get this area darkened in here too. If you want an area to stand out, you want to put a dark area next to it, and it'll help it stand out even more. Let's see here. I'm losing my little waterfall here, so I gotta go back in and kind of restate it here. Now it's not that bright of a light color, so it's got some of the rock showing through it here. So and let's see. Get some of that graphite over here, give some value to these rocks over here. It helps to define this, where this little waterfall is. Okay. Let's see, let's get our rock formations kind of defined in here. Texture is the name of the game in here. Adding variety and texture. These aren't just solid flat areas, they're striations and crevices and cracks in them and all that kind of good stuff. Looks like there might be a little bit of a waterfall just back in there, but it's so far in the shadows that you can't really see it. So just sort of create the effects of sort of random stuff going on back in there. And I'm going to put some lines going down like this to give that feeling of, that it's, it's kind of cascading over. Just helps to create that illusion. Now, if I go up here, I've got my striated rocks right there. There's a little leaf right in here, so I don't want to cover that with pencil lead. So let's save that. And I think these kind of slopes down here, so I'm just going to run my pencil lines up like this. I'll just try to shade that in a little bit. and give it a little, there's a little, where am I at here? A little dark area underneath there, you know, right where it touches the water. Sort of put that in there, and that sort of helps to, this little area right in through here. You can see that where it comes down to the water. I'm going to indicate some stuff going on there. Get my graphite line, or my grid lines out of this. Now, right here, the water is still so close to the rock that it's undisturbed, and so it sort of blends in with the rock. But then as you get in here, it starts to break apart into little rivulets. Same with, it's pretty dark little rivulets right there. And there's a highlight on top of them here, where the sun is hitting. Right up on top of that little waterfall there. And same with this one. There's some of the rock is showing through. So I'm just kind of creating a pattern in here that sort of mimics, hopefully mimics what's going on with that water falling down there. I was breaking up into little rivulets, and we'll put some dark graphite in there, and I can pick out some of those highlight areas with the with my kneaded eraser. See, there's a high spot in this rock right here, and that's forcing the water to go around this side and around this side. The same way up here, there's like 3 little outcroppings right there, and so it's forcing the water to go around this way and then come between those two and over here. That's why you need to kind of think about what's actually happening down there. And we're going to need to make this rock in here a lot darker. Okay, let's see, let's try it again here. see here. I think this needs to come over here a little bit more. That. Okay, now I should bring this area here down a little bit more, or I'm going to be in trouble with working over the top of it here. So I'm going to now remember, this crack goes all the way underneath, so you're going to see it over here, and okay. There's a stem that comes down through here like that. This little leaf is attached to. And there's another little leaf up in here, and it's put it in there just like that. Yeah, let's see, what have I got going on here? Okay. Now there's also a little waterfall back off of over here. It kind of comes out this little area, goes back up in here, and there's a waterfall that's, the rock comes down like that, and this little waterfall comes right down through here. So we want to darken the rocks around it. Let's see, we're getting there. I'll bring some more of this down in here. My wife keeps wondering where all her cotton balls are going. She says, I just bought some. Where'd they go? I don't know. getting down close to the bottom here. Take some of these out so I don't have to worry about them anymore. Okay, where are we at here? Where are we at, people? I get lost. I think I'll define some more of these leaves up in here. Now, where's my waterfall over here? Okay, it's coming right through here, down there. So I don't need any graphite there. And there's a big old leaf right in here. I'm just gonna, don't want that to be too dominant there. I might take that out. I'm not sure I'm gonna keep that because it sort of draws your eye away from where I want it to be. Just because it's there doesn't mean I have to leave it there. Now there's some shadows that are cast on this rock up here. And some shadows on these, or light coming through on these areas over here. That in through there. This area down in here is going to be quite a bit darker. There's a nice shadow on this water here. It's created by this cliff. Just goes like that. And we're going to, I don't know where all this graphite dust is going. I guess I'm going to run into it eventually here and I clean my floor. All right, let's get this. Bottom of this cliff is like right down in here. Now I want to pick out some of these areas where the water has pooled down at the bottom here. And so this kind of comes down here like this, and it sort of forms a little area where it splashes into the water here. And same with these right here. This little area of disturbed water here. Okay, and then this comes up here, this rock formation kind of underneath there. Put that in there. I'm just going to kind of leave out that, I think that waterfall over here. It's just, it's going to be in the way. It's not going to, well, I do need something over there, a little bit. I'll just leave a little bit of it, just a hint of it. Kind of, just a little bit of light catching the top of it. Like that. Okay. Now there's some formations, just rocks underneath the water here where you just get to the edge of them here. I'm just kind of put some of those in here. There's a rock right here that sits kind of like that. And there's a rock right there that sits like that. And there's some big leaves here. Always finish off this border over here with some leaves. Let's see, I got my little sandy beach that goes down through there. There's a big old crevice back over in here. Okay, this area down in here is quite a bit lighter than this. This shadow has got to be darker. where that cliff is creating that shadow there. Blocks the sun, and I'm just going to use some real light graphite in here. I'm at a point right now where I want to start highlighting some of these edges and bringing out some of these leaves here. And I'm going to use some graphite to darken some of them and then pick out the edges. And let's see, I've got these rocks right here, though I got to get in the dark shadow part here. There's one there, and there's, I don't know, something back. There's one right there, and then see, there's one right up in here. And it's got, you know, a real light surface on it because on the top there, because the sun's hitting that. And some of these leaves, I'm gonna need to go back in here and establish some of my darks, or I've picked them out maybe a little bit too much. Let's see, there's a little beach line comes around here like that, and then these leaves over here, they're going to get some value on them, and then we'll have to pick out the areas in between. That's a negative space, what they call a negative space. Negative space is the area in between what you want to draw. So let's see if we again, sometimes just put in some random areas in there and then fill in between them. I think I'll put a little waterfall right there, just a little small one. Just sort of looks like it's an ideal spot for one. Okay. I think I'm going to go with this Pentalic now, which is a little darker. It still says it's 9B, but it's a little darker than the other 9Bs I've been using. And so I want to kind of get that in there. And establish this shadow line here. I don't like this rock right here. 3 in a row like that just kind of doesn't look natural. So I'm just going to take that one out. For some reason I want another little waterfall over in here. I don't know. Maybe just a little trickle. Okay, getting there. You could start, you know, you could play with this for a long time, just doing little stuff, you know. There's a little leaf right here. Join me for our next drawing. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to draw yet, but it'll be something interesting, I hope.